Hello, Fritz Mueller on from Miami first, it looks like today. Stingray from soggy but unseasonably warm Seattle. Pedro Foiling Sailor, a.k.a. Peter Stevenson, checking in from, I guess, Sydney. Crash Bang Opera. Yeah, we're going to do the Crash Bang Opera. We got had a crash and a bang in Chesapeake Bay this morning. Greetings from a blustery but warming Great Lakes. My voice is cracking. Oh, my goodness. Jeff Kitson, I see you on. Jody Shields, G'day from Vanji, as you'd say in the Strine. Joe Holtzman checking in from Estes Park. Snowy Estes Park in Colorado. Chris Fury, G'day from Melbourne, Australia. Greetings from the boat shop, Clayton Embley is saying, and here we go through the starting line. Welcome. Pierre DeYoung in SoCal. Bob Walker checking in from Texas. David Leahy from Kenya in East Africa. Welcome, David. New name, new venue.
Yeah, nice.
Isn't that, Julia, a new name and a new venue?
Yep.
Gordon Smith in Denmark. Ted Ryman in Cape Town. Our international audience, our super FOSI, Julie Ahrens in rainy Cleveland. John Lammerts Van Buren, who is in Holland. He's been up in Finland at that terrific event. We have a brief report on that, Julia.
Oh, good.
A brief report. Actually, the video that Hamish ran about classic yachts in New Zealand. But we've got Dawn Riley, who was there. We've got Hamish, who was there. We've got John Lammerts Van Buren. We'll cover that on Friday. Josh Tozo's in Rhode Island. Josh. Chris Exley in Salem, Mass. And so on. We want to welcome everybody to show number 697.
Very close.
Tuesday, the 26th of March, here from Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Julia, can I put the lower thirds up? I think we should have lower thirds, don't you think?
We have to
As if nobody knows that I'm Tom and that you are Julia, and that we are in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District here on what is a pretty nice day. It looks like...
It is. Getting ready for 4 days of rain.
Are we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. And we're getting ready for Easter, right? Isn't that this weekend? Yeah, it is. It's Black Friday.
Is it?
Good Friday. Black Friday is a shopping day.
It is.
Good Friday is a religious day. Good Friday on this Friday. And then this is Religious Tuesday in some cultures, some religions.
Yeah.
And then Easter
Monday.
is this Sunday. This coming Sunday.
And I haven't gotten ready for Easter
And
yet.
this past Sunday, I would remind you, was Palm Sunday. Did you have the palm fronds?
No, I missed it.
Oh, my goodness. Greg Normand is checking in from Barcelona after 2 weeks in the center of world ski racing in Austria. Greg, of course, from the Great Lakes area. Welcome to you, Greg. Greg does that terrific show called Inside Sailing.
Oh, yeah.
In the Great Lakes. And I commend it to you. I do indeed. Okay, let's, talking about things that are weird, Julia. This happened.
It is.
And you were awake when this happened. What were you doing awake at, what was it, 01:30 our time?
I think my ESP woke me up because I thought something happened. And so I turned my TV on, and there it was. 1:15.
Is it true that you were called by the shipping company and asked as a consultant? Where's Conrad when we need him?
I know.
So that was today. That's the Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. And after whom is that bridge named?
Francis Scott Key.
Who was?
The lyricist for the national anthem.
And who wrote the tune? Oh, say, can you see? Who knows? Somebody will Google that and check that for us as we check in with our other FOSI. Rick Bannero, hello from San Fran, and the FOSI from below Wall Street. I guess what's that mean? Are you in New York City, Rick? Alan Long in Banff in Alberta. I always try to make things sound like it's Spanish. Alberta in Canada. Oh, Canada, getting a little spring skiing in before sailing season.
Gotta hurry.
Peter Taylor in New York City. He's going to do some video reports for us, Julia.
Oh, good.
Don Lunabos checking in from Sonoma across the bridge. Ted
Excellent.
Ryman. Yeah, he knew it was Francis Scott Key wrote the USA National Anthem, at least the lyrics, right?
Right.
It was set to a British drinking tune, Clayton and Lisa.
Oh, I'm glad to know that.
Alex Aldana is in Palma. He must be getting ready for that regatta. I think he's coaching some, actually Americans, I believe. Yes, Bannero is in New York City. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to you, Julia, as we get going here for closing in on our 700th show. We like to start with a Bravo Zulu.
Indeed.
And to whom else, other than the Black Foils who won. They foiled Tommy Slingsby's act. In New Zealand. The hometown heroes won. I don't know all their names. I didn't have time to research this photo from SailGP. SailGP didn't put names under the crew.
Shame on Seal.
Shame on SailGP. The Black Foils. I love the nicknames. I hope more teams do the same. They won the ITM SailGP in Christchurch. That's Blair Tuke on the left. Pete Burling center with his hands in victory above his head, and then Ray Davies, their coach, second from the right. I'm sure many others of you can name, several of you no doubt can name everybody on that group,
Right.
and I just do not appreciate it when a bloody organizing authority doesn't put the names under the pictures. James Pleasance does it for every one of his pictures, the OK Dinghy class, the Finn class, the Star class, many others. I would wish that others, Julia, would do the same thing.
Makes life easier.
More people checking in. Boy, Stingray saying nobody knows all the words to that anthem. I know the words to at least the main verse, I think.
Yes.
And I can play the tuba line to this day.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
for
got
sure.
a good tuba line.
Well, the bass line is good. It's hard to sing because of the octaves involved. Gordon Smith saying, that's what happens when you order an Uber cargo ship. Maersk are being very clear that they don't operate it and that there were 2 pilots on board.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, if you believe the news reports and look at the lights blinking on and off in the ship, they lost power. They lost, control. The thing was being blown along by the current.
And they were going 8 knots.
They were going 8 knots.
Yeah, pretty fast.
8 knots?
Yes.
Wow. They are fixing that bridge with zip ties and duct tape. Now that's going to be a long. Federal government said, we're going to spend money. Don't worry. We're going to spend your federal dollars. We'll fix that bridge for you. Don't worry. Ken Saban in Toledo, Ohio, in the boat shop having some fun. Maura Stevens. I thought you were out skiing, Maura. She's in rainy Halifax back in Nova Scotia. Joe Cool, let's go. Thanks for the show, and thanks for you, Joe Cool. As we get into this one, I couldn't help talking about Bravo Zulu. You had to say Bravo Zulu. The Flipper won on Saturday at SailGP. All the racing, as I'm sure most of you know, was canceled on Saturday in Christchurch because of the Dolphins, supposedly on the course, and we're going to have a lot more about that. But on Saturday, the Flipper, the Dolphins Flipper. You know where Flipper comes from? There was a television show here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Remember the show?
Yes.
It was called
Flipper.
Flipper. Exactly. They call him Flipper, da 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 da.
I'm told.
Da 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 da. No, you're not. I remember that as a kid. It was a favorite show.
I know, but I missed it.
Another winner besides the Kiwi team and the Dolphins, these guys kept our sanity on Saturday. I could tune in and listen to Jody and Chris and their female, whose name escapes me, their female offsider.
Yeah.
They were terrific. They were also terrific on Sunday. It's called On the Lock. I hope this continues because it was a good feature, and their tagline there is what SailGP fans have been waiting for. And I think that's certainly true in my case. They used knots.
Yes.
They used heading and lifting and tacking and jibing, and it was a breath Oh, fresh air, Julia. It was
Yes.
it was a BOFA.
Yes. I also listened to them on their first day, and they did admirably ad-libbing for 2 hours.
Exactly. As indeed they did. And thanks again, Jody and Chris. The only thing that it was confusing to find them because it's actually a link to a radio show
Yeah.
that is on a server somewhere, and I put that up on my Facebook page, and I'll work with Jody to try to publicize that link.
Yes.
Help him publicize.
I
the
had a
link.
hard time.
Even, but did you have a hard time finding it?
Mm-hmm.
But you did find it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Bravo Zulu, Jody, and
But just the radio, not the video.
well, there was no video with the radio. You had to watch
Yeah.
it
I
on
know.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you watched it on YouTube, then you could listen to the radio at the or you listen just to the radio.
Sure.
If you're probably very busy up there in the Commodore's quarters, huh?
I listened. I did only listen to the
The
audio.
radio. Well, and they painted the picture nicely. And of course, having had Jody on the show, thanks, Jody, for coming on last Friday. We had a pretty good idea what the venue looked like. Chris, actually, the Key Bridge, back to that bridge in Baltimore, was just that, a key north-south artery on the East Coast. Yeah, what is it? It's Route 90, it's Interstate 95, but it is it's one of those around the city links, right? 495 or 395, 295, something. Unthinkable, it's gone. Yeah, it's going to be a long time to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Long replying to Ted Ryman out of Cape Town, something like that. The GBR nickname is the bumper car. What? Oh, for the team. And Bravo Zulu and happy birthday to Richard Gladwell. I didn't know, Julia, it was Richard Gladwell's birthday. Thank you for that.
I didn't either.
John Lammert's Van Buren. It's one of the few birthdays not on your calendar.
I know.
Julia.
I think I have all of them.
One docking pilot and one state pilot, Clayton Embley is saying. He would know. He knows a lot about that. In what key do you play the national anthem? Most everybody plays it in the key of C. G, da, da, G, E, C, E, G, C. How's that, Claire? I was texting with Vice Commodore Claire Harrington
Yes.
this morning. She is also, besides her many other talents and skills and leadership,
Yes.
obviously, clearly a great leader in our sport.
Right.
She is the Vice Commodore now of New York Yacht Club, having been Commodore of, what was it, Claire? Nantucket Yacht Club or of Beach Haven, one of the clubs out on the islands there. She's also a musician, and I did not know that. She knows about tubas and sousaphones and basses and banjos, and she's a big fan of the plectrum, the long-necked classic jazz banjo.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Slingsby Senior Stingray? I don't think so. Good evening. There's Ollie Boys again, who's been coming on regularly since we featured the Southwold Sailing Club in England a few weeks ago on this show. Nice to see you, Ollie.
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Foiling Sailor, just watch this space. Nick is going to be offended by black nicknames. Okay. Time to call in the Seabees. Yes, that's the... what is that? Who are the Seabees? There's the Army engineers. The Seabees, is that the Navy's engineering crew, Julia?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that who they are? They call him Flipper, faster than lightning. There's Steve Gruber knows that theme song, too. He comes from the sea, just like you and me. I don't think so. I'm making that up now. Ed Worley, the Jody commentary was good and entertaining. Jonathan Frank is home in Galveston. Oh, Galveston, he's not out flying around for United Airlines. By the way, Julia, there is no truth to the rumor that Boeing, their CEO, has been forced out. And apparently the chairman of the board's leaving and maybe the head of their commercial plane division.
Yeah, he's already left.
He has.
And
I spoke with Stingray this morning, who, of course, used to work at Boeing.
Right. What did he have to say?
Well, I wish he were still there. I asked him if it was true that the board was coming to him to ask him to be the new CEO.
Yeah.
And he said, no way, not a chance would I take that job. But he said, after all those years at Boeing, he said everything was safety first, whether it was on the shop floor, whether it was in the coding department. He was doing a computer. He was a computer jockey and coding jockey. He said, man, for somebody to have made that mistake or left some grommets out on the wing or whatever it is just unbelievable. And he says, frankly, a bit frightening.
Yes.
So who knows, Julia? Jody Shields and Chris Steele, we're still on that slide, but as we go through the comments, but yeah, a lot of nice comments about that. Claire Harrington was Edgartown Yacht Club.
Oh, good
Edgartown.
to know that. Yeah.
Bravo Zulu. She was Commodore, and she's now, of course, Vice Commodore of New York. Jeff Kitson agrees that they did a fine job. That is Jody and Chris. I grabbed their link off their new Facebook. Yes, they do have a Facebook page, which is where I found the link too. And Jonathan Frank says, I want to hear the radio replay. That's a good question, Jody. Can one go back and listen to the radio replay, which was, by the way, amazingly synced up? The radio was a bit ahead of the video, at least from where I was watching it here. So through whatever servers my YouTube signal was going through, the radio gave you could hear what was going to happen. And if something interesting was going to happen, you could focus in on the YouTube, and it would happen a few seconds later. At least that's how the delay was for me. So I rather liked it. Stingray said, I listened to Jody on Saturday. There's a lot of tension from the course, but also about the female commentator would suddenly, if the female, that's right, she was in Auckland, wasn't she? She was not down there in Christchurch, because apparently she was about to give birth. I-695, 95, for those of you who are not Americans, 695, or 95 rather, Interstate 95 runs from, Key West, or not maybe that far, but from Miami all the way to Maine. From Florida along the East Coast, the same way Interstate 5 runs along the West Coast out here from San Diego up to bloody hell, almost to Canada. And then you get to these bigger cities, and then some of them have expressways going around the city rather than through it, or through it instead of around it, and those get numbered either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 95. So you know it's an offshoot from the main Interstate 95, which apparently this bridge was. They're telling us it was Route 695. Ab, I wonder what Claire is saying when she says Ab. Good afternoon from Davis Island. Hi, Philip, down in Tampa, Florida. Davis Island Yacht Club, one of my favorites. FS Key, Francis Scott Key, yes. Edgartown Yacht Club Racing. Construction Battalion, CB of the Seabees. That's what CB stands for. Thank you, Bob Walker. The American national anthem is sung in the key of Francis Scott. Bannerow making a joke. I used to dock ships on the Chesapeake Bay. Clayton Emily is saying, who's a captain and a Bourbonmeister, with the company that docked and undocked that ship, McAllister Towing, which is a nationwide company, if memory serves. Yeah, the U.S. Navy, Seabees, Engineers and Divers, Construction Battalion. Warren Shosser checking in from Hamilton Island.
Hamilton, yeah.
In
someday I'm going to make Hamilton Island.
Hamilton Island's fabulous. Fabulous.
I think I should know it because I've seen so many pictures, but I've never been there.
Joe Holtzman, who used to work for McDonnell Douglas, he worked for Ford, then he worked for MD. He said Boeing should put McDonnell Douglas people in charge. They're the best bet.
Well, Boeing used to be really good too, though.
Okay, Stingray, and now they're going back and forth about that. The Baltimore Beltway, 695. Okay, thank you, Chris Exley. All American ships I've worked on had an I-95. It's the walkway through the ship. G'day. Peter Blakely is saying from the Gold Coast of Australia, yeah, I-395 goes into D.C., I-495 around D-something, 695 Baltimore. And there's Alexander Rudkin out in Honolulu. We're going to talk about Honolulu in a minute. Right after we talk about this lady, we got to send her our best wishes, right?
Oh, yes.
And she is a sailor of some stature, some repute. This is an article from 2022 in Harper's Bazaar talking about Duchess Kate wearing nautical stripes and a wetsuit for a sailing event. The Duchess took part in a friendly race alongside Great Britain's team at the Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth this a couple of years ago. There she is getting off the chase boat and either onto the yacht or vice versa. Duchess Kate has returned, the article says, to the high seas for yet another sailing. I added the word yet in there, but she's done a lot of sailing. When they were in New Zealand, in fact, she and Prince William raced against each other, I think, on different yachts, big boats. The Duchess of Cambridge made an appearance at Sail Grand Prix at Trinity Pier in Plymouth, England today. Again, this was in 2022. Visiting the global sailing competition in support of the 1851 Trust.
Aha.
In her packed visit, the Duchess took part in activities promoting sustainability before joining a friendly Commonwealth race along Britain's team. There they are on the Sail GP boats, including the Kiwis behind them. The Cambridges, this is nice ink for our beloved sport.
It is.
The Cambridges have reportedly become a sailing family during the pandemic, with an insider telling Vanity Fair that the family spent several days sailing on the North Norfolk coast last summer. Quote, "They are very much a family of sailors now," unquote, the source told the outlet. Quote, "Kate has always been a competent sailor, and William's pretty good too. They have enjoyed some wonderful time on the coast this summer, sailing and showing the children how to steer and sail a boat. They love the water, and the two eldest are good swimmers and had no qualms about jumping into the sea, even if it was
a bit fresh."
A bit fresh, Julia. You're the one who's fresh. I just thought we should wrap up with this photo of the presumed and future queen, and wish her all the best and best wishes for a speedy and full recovery.
Absolutely.
Right, Julia?
Absolutely.
Anything to add to that?
No, I think there's every good chance that you can do that.
Well, one can only hope. And what kind of cancer she has, and what the king has. Apparently, the king's in tougher shape than she.
I think that's true.
From what we hear, from what one hears, we hope that she is going to make a speedy recovery. We hope His Majesty does as well. What are we celebrating today, Julia? You should know this.
I should.
It's from your favorite state if you saw the show notes.
Hawaii?
Yes?
Is that Statehood Day?
Not quite.
Prince Kahio.
Prince Kahio Day, because he was born on this day back in the 1880s, I believe, March 26, 2024. And Prince Kahio Day today is an official holiday in the state of Hawaii in the United States. It is celebrated annually on the 26th of March to mark the birth of Prince Jonah Kuhio. Can you pronounce that?
Kala'aio.
Oh, wow. Kalaniana O'Ole,
yeah.
heir to the throne of Kingdom of Hawaii, Prince of the House of Kalakaua, and later territorial delegate to the United States Congress before they were a state. It was established in 1949, that is this holiday, by the legislature of the territory of Hawaii, again, before it was a state. There is a Library of Congress picture.
Who does he look like?
Who does he look like? You tell me.
The Belgian detective.
Who, Clouseau?
Yeah.
Inspector Clouseau? I guess he does, actually. Good eye. Good eye. As a delegate, Kuhio authored the first Hawaii statehood bill in 1919. He also won passage of the Hawaiian Homes Act. He was very, very big on women's suffrage, women's rights, women's voting. Apparently an all-around good guy. Prince Kuhio Day is one of the only two holidays in the United States dedicated to royalty, the other being Hawaii's, Julia?
King Kamehameha Day.
On June 11th. You say that so well.
Oh, it's my would-be.
You say that so well.
With love.
Okay, enough of all that. We also are celebrating today, as usual, those of you who support us, our FOSI and our Super FOSI and our patrons, particularly, specifically, patreon.com/join/join, am I dyslexic? /Sailing Illustrated. We appreciate very much the support we get from all of you. who do give us $1 or $2 or $5 or more per month to keep our studio. We spend that money on computers
And for you.
and keeping this show on the internet. And we have, after more testing, we have dropped 0 frames. I hope we can maintain that because we've had some more problems with the internet and the network, Julia, but
Yes,
hopefully that is solved. Man, the comments are rolling in.
they are. Thank you, Chris, actually.
What did Chris say?
He is saying Hercule Poirot. Which,
Oh, yes.
Poirot.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't possibly go back. We can't read all these, Julia, but back on this ship, everybody's talking about this. Oh, it is. It's shipping. It's yachting. It's going to cause a problem in yacht racing, no doubt, in the Chesapeake for a while. Replying to Ryman, the barges and salvage cranes are on their way north from Norfolk, Virginia, and moving south from Curtis Bay at the present moment. They should be on station in the morning. Ryman thinks that guy looks like Stalin. And there's your Paul. What else? I'm sorry, I got to skip all these comments on a Sail GP side note. Baton Rouge, Baton Cannon in Charleston, says Sail GP should scrap their intro rap and lean into a typical yacht rock intro theme. Sail GP will grow if they are embarrassed to be. Will not grow. Thank you. They will not grow if they're embarrassed to be sailors. Same goes for the AC coverage. And Julia, I think you and I certainly agree with that, don't we?
Yeah.
And probably everyone on here, including especially our patrons. Thank you all for keeping us in your thoughts as well. Give us $1 or $2 or $5 a month to help keep us on the air. Speaking of heroes, we have another report from, there's his theme music, The Coach's Corner with John Emmett, the international man of mystery who flits about the globe the way I flit about my apartment here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, Julia. He is now in...
Yes. Shanghai?
Shanghai. And you know that part of Shanghai? I've been in Shanghai a couple times for Formula One promotions back in the late 90s. And it's the most amazing city I think I've ever been in. And that is called the Bund, not the Bund like you pronounce it in German. The Bund, you know what the Bund is in German?
The legislature.
It's a government bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a government bond, the Bund like the bond here. But in Shanghai, yeah, Gordon Smith knew it was the Bund. In Shanghai, it's the district that where the international crowd hung out. It was from the 18-something, 60s, right after the America's Cup, until the 30s anyway. So let's go.
That was a really interesting period of time.
It was. So the Bund is a waterfront area and protected historical district in central Shanghai. The area centers on a section of Zhongshan, is that how you say that? Zhongshan Road, within the former Shanghai International Settlement, which runs along the western bank of the Huangpu River in the eastern part of Huangpu. The area along the river faces the modern skyscrapers of, how do you pronounce that?
I don't know.
Luzizhui in Pudong. The Bund usually refers to the buildings and wharves on this section of the road, as well as some of the adjacent areas. Here's what it looks like during the day. And the region has a significant look at the buildings there. Let me back that off. I mean, that looks like Europe, any number of European towns, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it has a European influence with a style of many structures most comparable to that of European cities, particularly Gothic, Baroque, Neoclassical, Romanesque, Art Deco, and Renaissance architecture. Additionally, some of the city's top eateries are located there, which I had the great fortune to eat at a couple of them. From the 1860s to the 1930s, it was the rich and powerful center of the foreign establishment in Shanghai, operating as a legally protected treaty port. And that, not there specifically in the Bund, but in Shanghai, is where we find our Super FOSI and Super Olympic coach, John Emmett, today.
And his...
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI.
Okay, say it again, Julia. You were going to say?
And his Super Olympic wife.
I don't know if she's there or not. I don't know if she's there or in Hong Kong, but let's watch his report.
Okay.
Maybe we'll learn from the report.
Yeah.
Hi Tom, Julia and all the FOSI. I'm here in Shanghai, just outside Lily's apartment. Going for a little walk. It's really hard to describe just the size of the place. So I think there's probably 19 of these buildings with 19 floors. I'm just walking around the ground. Probably need to be careful I don't get lost because they all look a bit similar. Yeah, there we go. And I mean, China is just amazing. You might not be able to see from the background, but everywhere you look, there's just new buildings and new developments going up. In fact, there's an entire, what I'll call a shopping mall, where I've just spent the morning, has sprung up since I was last here, which was before the pandemic. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. We're here for the Shanghai Cup, but came a couple of days earlier just to get over the jet lag, see my wife, and I actually really enjoy the food. I mean, it's a really different cultural experience, and yeah, it's probably about 20 degrees here, so I didn't get too conned with the weather. But yeah, one of the things is just giving myself that little bit of time out, which I think is important. And the people's attitude towards sailing was something I was alluding to on the last show. And I remember working with an athlete, and very unfortunately, they fell off their bike in Villamora. And you know, these things really hurt. The sailor bruised their shoulder, and there's a lot of swelling. And as a conscientious coach, I made sure, you know, we got the MRI, check it out, no structures damaged, but obviously it's still very painful. You know, sailor really didn't want to sail for 2-3 weeks while there was any sort of pain. And I always have this feeling that all the time you're resting, your rivals are improving. And that was very much the focus of my first book, Be Your Own Sailing Coach, which I wrote when I had the very serious neck injury. In fact, I had 7 months of sailing. And the idea of being your own sailing coach was to work on your weaknesses and to make the absolute most of every day, of every hour, of every minute, training and racing and to learn. So that was, you know, very much my mindset. And, you know, personally, I probably go too far the other way, which I do tolerate pain a bit too much. I was quite surprised. If you go back on the show, I actually put a picture in there of the tendon injury, where the tendon was sort of ripped halfway through. So obviously I should have stopped sailing quite a long time ago and let it heal. I'm not quite sure what to do now because we're in the middle of the season, but your body does need that opportunity to repair. But I've been really lucky in China. I've made the most of it. I've had some moxa bustion, which is heating, and that really promotes blood flow to the area, so really good for injury. You wouldn't do it during the first 3 days of an acute injury, that's when ice is more appropriate, but a chronic injury like I have, it's really good just to get that heat in. And you can see it's not just sort of redness on the skin that you sometimes get if you use things like deep heat or whatever. It's very much a penetrating heat. And I really enjoyed the Chinese massage. Now maybe enjoy isn't quite the word, it's pretty similar to Thai. So it is a bit painful if you've got scar tissue and tightness, injuries. But actually, it's definitely a good thing. So I've really made the most of my time here, and I'll try and show you a little bit more of what's going on. Obviously, Lily's very busy here, and you know she's quite a big deal, I guess. I mean, obviously, I don't understand what we're saying, so I came back home yesterday at sort of 7:30 at night, and there she was, bless her, on the TV. I don't know what she was saying, but it was really nice to see out there promoting sailing. And she's an ambassador for this Shanghai Cup, which I think is more about promoting sailing and promoting the city than, you know, a normal sort of 6-day regatta. But yeah, it's a learning experience for John. I'm certainly going to make the most of my time here. And if you think about it, the population of China is absolutely huge. So if sailing took off here, wow, there'll be a huge number of additional sailors. So, as I said, because of the time difference, not going to be able to join you on the show, but wishing everybody well. And any questions, I will try and catch the replay if my VPN is working and answer any questions. Cheers.
Well, what'd you think of that?
I think that was terrific.
I did too. And I'm going to go back. I got to go back because we had that shot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I guess that's the shot that Gordon Smith's referring to, because in the previous shot, you couldn't really, let's go back to, you couldn't really see it, but in this shot you can, and it's the so-called famous the Gordon Smith's family, his what, dad or grandfather, what made clocks, famously big clocks, including that, I believe, Gordon, tell me if I'm right, that clock, which is the Bank of China building.
Oh.
This was like Lower Wall Street. This is Lower Manhattan, Wall Street. This is like Frankfurt in Germany. This
Right.
is, like the city in London, and it's a cool financial district. And apparently that clock was made, is that right? It's the clock tower is the Bank of China. It's beautiful. I wonder who made such a fabulous public clock in the 1920s. And I believe that is Gordon's grandfather, who was my grandfather's clock. Da, da.
Yeah.
That was another song. How many songs have we sung today? So that we are now in the 6th generation of the business, he says.
That's terrific.
That is terrific. And I'll go back now to where we were in the show and thank John for that, because it was, it was just, when I was in Shanghai, Julia, it was an amazing, this was in the late 90s. There was, there's just tall buildings everywhere. It's, it's one of the most popular cities in the world. It's one of the fastest growing to this date cities in the world. It is the New York City of China. And of course, China is what? 5 times the size of the U.S. in population.
Yeah, probably 30,
right?
30 million versus...
billion and a half versus 300 million.
Yeah.
300 and whatever we are. But it's Singing Illustrated, Jonathan Frank. You should know he's a singer. He can sing and play bass at the same time, which is very difficult.
Yes.
Right, Jonathan Frank? But it was a 24/7 construction zone when I was there. Maybe it still is. But instead of, on the scaffolding up the sides of the buildings, instead of it being metal or whatever, it was
bamboo.
All bamboo.
Yeah.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
An amazing place.
I remember that.
You do?
Mm.
And that's our segment from John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. And where will he be next week? So I guess that answers the question, Julia, as to whether or not she was there. She's there, and I guess his comment,
busy.
And busy. We saw her on the tube. Apparently, presumably, that was her parents in her apartment.
Yeah.
There with, and John is staying at, people says he's stalking her while he's staying in the apartment, but I don't know if she's there all the time. She's he said, I'm not sure I'll ever see her. She may be racing on a boat. She may be staying someplace else close to whatever.
She's the ambassador.
It's a big city.
Yeah.
And she's a television star. So
yes.
Who knows? And then I think they're all headed to Hong Kong. I think that's what John told me. So we shall see.
Well, we wish her and him a lovely time.
Indeed. Shall we go to Sail GP now and check in on what happened in New Zealand over the weekend?
Oh, yes.
We asked you if you thought Australia would beat New Zealand at home. And I don't remember the numbers now, but, some of you thought France would win, which was a pretty good call. France almost, well, I wouldn't say they almost won, but they certainly were in the final 3, had a shot at it, along with Canada. But the Kiwis dominated. And Blair Tuke, we'll have a video from him in a moment, but of course, skipper Pete Burling, you start to wonder about Pete Burling. Is he a better sailor overall than Tom Slingsby? Is Tom Slingsby now married and with kid? Has a kid? Is he distracted by the things? Is Tom Slingsby distracted by New York Yacht Club's America's Cup Challenge? One can only hope that he is, because it didn't work out so well for Tom, as we'll tell you, and as you probably know. But they came to New Zealand rather, fresh from Australia, of course, fresh from securing their first season 4 win. They hadn't won a regatta. They'd finished on the podium many times, most times. Mm-hmm. And we were all wondering if the momentum of that euphoric win would carry the Aussies on to consecutive victories. And even Russell thought that Tom would win this event. He said beforehand, the night before at the press conference, I'm picking Australia to win the final here in Littleton. Mm-hmm. But as you all know, that didn't happen. The Kiwis won. We're going to play you the 10-minute recap video in a second. But in the meantime, on the first day of racing, which was Saturday, as we said at the top of the show, it was the Dolphins that won.
I know.
It was the Flippers that won because there apparently were several of them on the course, and the protocol between the harbor master who is talking to the animal rights and control people said, sorry, you can't race as long as there's dolphins in the racing area.
In the course, yeah.
In the course area. And they did not race all day Saturday. And the poor announcers, including Jody and Chris.
I thought they were brilliant.
Well, they were, weren't they?
Yeah.
So were the Dolphins, because they
were having a good time.
Apparently, they were having a great time. So here is the 10-minute wrap-up video. I wouldn't normally play it, but it's actually the commentating. I'm sorry. Even in the first minute, I had to turn it down when I was looking at it earlier this morning. It's just atrocious. You would think you were, well, you be the judge. Here it is.
This is event 9 of the season, and Sail GP has once again arrived in Christchurch for the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix. The waters of the Southern Hemisphere have a long history of testing the world's best sailors in challenging conditions, but things are looking good for racing today. Looking forward to some great action with me are Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison. I'm Todd Harris. During practice on Friday, there was a big incident between Spain and Emirates GBR. It was fairly clear that the Brits were in the wrong. Thankfully, no one was injured, but the umpires penalized the Brits, who now start this event on -8 points. And there was more fallout as GBR also suffered a 4-point penalty on their season standings.
And the manoeuvring now is crucial. Germany have chosen to cut back early. Their starting was incredible. Here we go. It's heightened on board. It's tight in the middle. Oh, there could be a collision in the middle of the line there. Oh, my word. Rockwool, Denmark and Canada. Rockwool, Denmark had to keep clear. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Big moment. Anyway, back to the boats. Australia, bottom of line, well positioned. New Zealand, top of line. The two big guns firing here with 15 seconds to go. New Zealand are going to be fast and loose at the top of line. Australia, how's their timing going to be? With Giles Scott coming through. 6 seconds to go. New Zealand winded up at the top of the line. France winded up at the bottom of the line. Watch for it to turn white. We go. New Zealand absolutely flat out at the top of the line. They're going to struggle to control the boat with those big foils from here. France on the inside should lead at Mark 1. New Zealand need to get into that boundary for protection. All the boats start to turn, but they've got to keep clear of Australia there on board Canada. Big contact. What? That was unthinkable there. They weren't in the boundary. I don't know that Canada can turn in front. That's a massive incident there. Oh my
major
word.
Damage.
Major damage to the Australian boat. That's a day ender potentially there.
So we've got confirmation that the Australian team hit that mark. That's what we saw turned upside down underneath the boat.
We can see New Zealand are managing to really find the fastest route around this course. They're closing down on the French. They were way back in the pack. They're tending to sail on their own. They're trying to keep their own space, stay out of phase with the other boats would be a priority. And when they next turn the boat here, ladder lines show we're nearly level. When they come back together with the French, they'll have the right of way. Good chance for the Kiwis to take the lead right now. Yeah, there's a lead change there. Big gains by the New Zealand crew. They're very much in phase with the wind shifts here. They're minimising distance on this upwind leg well, and yeah, generally got better boat speed. They're well set for gate 5. Tight moment here. France have got it wound up. Look at the speed, 62 kilometres an hour. New Zealand have to keep clear. They choose to dip behind. It's going to be neck and neck at this final turn downwind mark here. Right of way at the moment with France in the lead. New Zealand second. There's nothing in that.
Here comes Peter Burling and the Kiwis, and this will be a tight crossing, as Stevie pointed out, the Kiwis having the right of way.
Yeah, that was a sensible, that's a wise head on young shoulders, De La Pierre.
In the first race of the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix in Christchurch goes the way of the home team. The Black Foils get the win in race 1. France with a very impressive race. They check in second place. Spain will finish in 3rd, and that's huge.
13 seconds to go. New Zealand well positioned. France in the middle of the line a little bit more. It's all about acceleration now. Phil Robertson, the rocket at the bottom of the line on board Canada. How's your timing, Phil Robertson? He winds it up on board Canada. Go! Perfect start, Phil Robertson. Nathan Outridge, perfect start on the Swiss boat, but the Canadians are going to have the fastest angle to Mark 1 on these big foils. They will control things. New Zealand out the back again. The Canadians look like they've smoothed things down a bit here. They turn right. Great Britain right, France right, and Spain are going to be the first to split away.
Oh,
no,
France.
last-minute decision, but they're going to open the door for Spain. Spain have the right of way, no problem. Top right of screen, New Zealand have the right of way. Switzerland have got to miss them. Wow, tight moment there. Oh no, love loss, and the Swiss are high on the foils here. They're going to be loose on the mark rounding. Oh, it's getting messy on board that Swiss boat. Look at it go. Oh. Big ease on the wing needed. It's getting fast and loose out on the race course. Big moment. France have dropped back behind New Zealand. Winds rotated right towards the right-hand side of our screen, and we can see the boats on the right of the screen are sailing nearly straight up the ladder line. Extra distance there, missed the wind shift, the French, and they've lost a place. That could be huge in the race to the final.
And Canada has all but checked out.
I think I just became the favourite Kiwi.
Race number 2 at the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix goes the way of the Canadians with a Kiwi at the wheel.
That's going to be second place for Spain, third for Great Britain. And the hometown heroes, well, it's fourth, but they came from last all the way to fourth. 13 seconds to go. It's all about timing. New Zealand have got to watch out for Canada, but Phil Robertson, he's just shooting straight at the line. Germany well positioned, but I think De La Pierre and the Spanish, France and Spain at the bottom of the line. Watch for the line to turn white. Perfect start there. Wow. Incredible timing by Diego Bortin with the pressure on. Spain and France are going to be 1 and 2 at Mark 1. Incredible work. Out front, France, they choose to head back towards the fans, and it's going to be really tight. New Zealand with the right of way on the right-hand side of our screen. Switzerland are threading the needle. Oh, my word. Nathan Outridge has got to keep clear of New Zealand. Oh, my days, that was close. Think he's going to be in trouble there. New Zealand are out the back. France, Canada, Spain.
And this race to the final is really heating up now. As it currently stands, we would see Spain, France, and Canada through to the final race.
So France is safely around. Emirates GBR gives way, and it's going to get awfully crowded on the right side. On the inside, you've got Spain. On the outside, you've got Canada. The Kiwis decide to the other side, and Emirates GBR goes with them.
But Spain are past Canada here. Canada must keep clear of Spain. That's good news for Kiwi fans as it sits at the moment.
Let's see what Phil Robertson does. He's got to sense what's happening here. They are currently almost dead even with the Kiwis.
But look at the speed on the top of the Canadians, about 57 kilometers an hour there, compared to 49 for the Canadians.
New Zealand, they have the right of way. Canada must dip behind, but crucially, Spain have dropped back to fifth. One more manoeuvre is going to be required for New Zealand, one more manoeuvre for Canada before the top gate, and it will be Canada with the right of way as they come into this top gate.
It is now second and third, Canada and New Zealand. New Zealand no longer needs to get past Canada to get in the final, as Spain has dropped back to fourth.
Oh, poor manoeuvre there by the Spanish, and that's meters and meters of distance they've managed to lose in that manoeuvre. The crucial thing here is Canada, France, and New Zealand to stay ahead of Spain, and then it'll be those three boats. So it's not too important where they finish as long as they're ahead of Spain.
So here comes France, and that will give us 3 races, 3 different winners. France will get the win in race number 3. Second place goes to New Zealand in race 3. Canada will hold on for third.
And with that, that secures our top 3 there. The Kiwis, French, and Canadians will be the boats that go through to this final race.
There's 9 seconds to go. Canada must keep clear of New Zealand. Burling's timed this well. France are coming at pace. How's your timing? Peter Burling at the bottom end of the line. Perfect from the Kiwis there on the inside. They have control. They should lead from here at Mark 1, but there's going to be some tight rules incidents. France must keep clear of Canada. Canada must keep clear of New Zealand, but the Canadians are out the back. Surely going to look to split the course. No, they're going to stay with them. Their whole fleet are staying tight, and if you're on board that New Zealand boat, you are over the moon to see that.
And Canada's the first to turn away.
Well, yeah, they're just as soon as you're sailing behind someone, Todd, you're in disturbed wind. You've effectively got less potential horsepower. It looks like the wind's rotated right. He's got a big left shift at the top. He's really turned away from those lines, but he's struggling. Look how slow they are. The wind's got light on that left-hand side.
And here they are at gate number 4.
Yeah, here go the French. Now he's making his move. De La Pierre chooses to do the extra manoeuvre down here, splits away. Burling turns right back towards the fans, and this is it. This is De La Pierre's move. He's splitting the course. He's hoping for extra, but look at that. They're a bit high. They're a bit loose on that rounding. It was a tricky rounding, but they're messy. They're messy on the French boat there. They've got slow. Should be good news for the Kiwis. This is the New Zealand black foils. This is their chance to bring it home in front of the fans.
Now, if they take the win here, it's not just the event that they are going to win. They are going to take the lead on the overall season leaderboard.
French are charging, but it's going to be too little too late on board this French boat. Going to be second for France as the black, hear the crowd on the shore. That sounds like half of New Zealand standing up to applaud them.
And they bring it straight in towards the Adrenaline Lounge here in Littleton Harbor. All of Christchurch on their feet. Say hello to your winners. It's the Black Foils with the win.
To race like that in front of a home crowd was unreal. I mean, it felt like we were dominant in the final and we were attacking it, and it felt really good. So yeah, just so stoked to come away from it with the win and in front of a home crowd. It was my first time singing the national anthem in front of a home crowd, and yeah, I'll never forget it. It was absolutely insane. Everyone's just enjoying Shapeshifter right now, and it's so cool to see the energy out there and be able to perform on a day like today is an unreal feeling.
And now it is on as we make the move for the final 4 events. And it will be a good one as we make the move to Bermuda. It will be the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix, May 4th and 5th, taking place in Bermuda's Great Sound, one of the most beautiful places in the world.
One of the most beautiful places in the world, Julia. It is, too. The whole South Island is fabulous. But everybody, I think most everybody agrees. It was exciting racing, but the commentary makes it so, what's the word I want? It's not, it becomes, go ahead.
Asphalt.
It becomes tedious. You plus, not only do you have the commentary, but then you have the stuff coming off the boats as the soundtrack behind that, because they don't have any crowd noise, so they have to use, and they think that somehow makes it authentic. I just, it boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. I'm sorry. And you saw several people have turned off the sound and carried on, but thank God we now have Jody.
Yes.
Shields and Chris Steele, because you can turn that off and it's not this, it's the NASCAR, or it sounds like a horse race. Yes. And of course, a horse race is only a minute and a half long or something, not an hour and a half long. If they'd let the American, the guy who's the host commentator whose name escapes me, he sets the stage nicely. He does a good job setting the stage. The boats are about to round the mark. They're doing this.
Is that Todd Harris?
Todd Harris, thank you. And then Lisa Darmanin, she's quite good, and she makes the crucial observation. In the meantime, that Stevie guy just is running off, and it's so irritating that I'm sorry.
Can't leave any space blank.
Sorry. They talk too much. Julie Aaron said, put it in 4 words, what I just took a minute to say. It did rhyme, and the commentary is not bad at low volume. I don't want to talk too much more about this, but a little bit. It's still, sailing should be like golf, even at this speed. Okay, the boats are going fast, but you see they've split now. You got the Kiwis up the upwind left side. You got the French going on the upwind right. We'll see who crosses. Pause. Wait and see. They tack back. You look at the lines. Let the audience, who now, who now know what the ladder lines are, Stan Honey's graphics, and how that works, and let the audience enjoy the racing.
Yes.
And then cue them into very certain little things. And not talking high nonstop. Oh, my God.
Do we know that non-sailors feel the same way?
Well, the proof is, Shakespeare said, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yeah.
Non-sailors aren't tuning in.
Okay.
It's all sailors who are watching this.
Yeah.
And they know this. Russell knows this. The audience is not expanding to non-sailors, try as they might. And of course, bless their hearts for trying, but it's not. Sail GP on the Lock is the name of Jody's commentary. There is a Facebook page. The link is there. They should agree, Clayton Embley. Let me have some coffee here, Julia. They should review, Clayton Embley is saying, the Cudmore, Melgus, Dixon, and Blackall coverage of the 87 Cup. Give me Peter Montgomery any day.
I fell in love with Peter Montgomery.
As Julie Aarons is saying, that part of the world, there are so many good people. Tasker, Lester, Montgomery. Yeah. Martin Tasker. Golf commentator Peter Alice, find a clip. Yes. Or the tennis commentators. I mean, tennis is going on at the speed of whatever that's going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But they don't talk every minute. You hear the ball hit the racket. You hear the grunting. That's part of it.
I know.
And what about those kids? What about Alcaraz? And how about this Italian kid, Sins?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a breath of fresh air in a sport.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, they are something. There were some rallies that Alcaraz has been involved. There's some YouTube video. Go on YouTube and Google Alcaraz down at Indian Wells or wherever. And there's some just astonishing rally. The kid is so
I didn't
fit.
watch any of that.
And he's so quick.
Yeah.
He can get around the court, and he loves to volley. He loves to get up to the net. But I don't know anything about tennis, so I should stop talking. Okay, let's first hear from Blair Toot, because you talk about a breath of air, a breath of fresh air. Have a look at this video. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Absolutely epic.
It doesn't get any better than that. Race weekend win at home. Beautiful conditions, crowd. After yesterday's disappointment for everyone, so stoked to put on a good show today. We said we would hope we'd do it, and we've done it.
The pressure was on, but you guys absolutely delivered. Do you thrive under that?
Absolutely. We got into a tough spot in that last fleet race to actually make the final, just held it together, and executed a good start and then a clean race from there, so absolutely pumped.
Well, we're going to drop you off to that crowd for the champagne moment. Enjoy, Blair.
We can't wait. We're going to.
He's a top bloke, as the Aussies and the Kiwis would say. Mm-hmm. Just I know him a little bit, not well, but back on the commentators' commentary for a minute. Montgomery was even louder, but he was. I mean, it's like an orchestra, Stingray. You can't play at full volume and full speed all the time. You've got to have the soft parts of the orchestral piece. You got to have the fast pieces and the slow piece, the legato pieces, and you've got to have some interplay between the two commentators. Even Monday Night Football here in the U.S., which has been, Julia, as you know, has been one of, if not the number one regular sports broadcast, is two people. Basketball is two people. Ice hockey is two people. Oh, you may have a sideline report. In fact, almost everybody does, and that's a good addition.
Yeah.
But you need two commentators, not three. Even at Gov Cup, I've been arguing with Andy.
Yeah.
I ought to go off and help Bretschker with the production and let Andy and Matt Whitfield do the Gov Cup.
Yeah.
But no. They say what you do I'm doing what this guy Todd Harris does. I kind of set the stage. I open, I close, I do the commercials, thanking the sponsors, and then I try my damnedest to STFU to shut the fudge up the rest of the time and let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I try.
Fill in blanks still.
What other comments here? Sailing meets heavy. It's not even heavy metal. Richard Gladwell, happy birthday to you. Richard is on.
Happy
Sail
birthday,
GP has to learn to under-commentate. Yes, that's, again, a way of putting it in 6 or 7 words, what I was saying about golf and tennis.
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR has 3 commentators. Oh, there's the template. Okay, Julia. Well, let's carry on here, and everybody wants to get to Russell and the Dolphins. But Bravo Zulu to Pete Burling and co., they are now leading season 4 after this accident, this incident, this crash by Tommy Slingsby and co.
New Zealand need to get into that boundary for protection. All the boats start to turn, but they've got to keep clear of Australia there on board Canada. Big contact. What? That was unthinkable there. They weren't in the boundary. I don't know that Canada can turn in front. That's a massive incident there. Oh my
major
word.
damage.
Major damage to the Australian boat. That's a day ender potentially there.
And even that, I mean, even there, Stevie, what's his name, just can't stop talking. He talks over and under the other guys. It's major. This is terrible. Whoa. I'm going to go back and play that again for your edification. In fact, without the sound. There, no sound. Apparently, they had to avoid Canada, Tommy said. He knew the buoy was there, but obviously he didn't know it was right where it was. And obviously, this is a major issue. Apparently that cross beam, from what I've been reading, and thanks to several of you who have sent things through, that cross beam is toast. And don't forget that Sail GP now, they were in Warkworth in New Zealand, but their facilities, they've been moving it to Southampton. And I don't know how well that new facility is put together, Southampton in England, which in theory should help get parts down to Bermuda, which is where the next event is. Get the boats there, get the parts there, and repair them. Because, as several of you said, it wasn't just what do you call it when the cars do their derby?
Construction. Destruction derby.
No, something else. But as Ed Worley is saying, Denmark had a major collision, and there was other things. A demolition derby. That's what I was trying to come up with.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of boats that need to be repaired, but apparently, I suspect, and I'm not sure, but I suspect that Russell will see to it that Tom Slingsby gets a boat, because they need that competitive tension going forward for the circus, for the show, both in the remaining two events, Bermuda, and is there one in New York too? Bermuda, New York, and San Francisco, the remaining three events. So I suspect they'll either repair Tom's boat or get one of the other boats to him. We shall see. This is what Tom had to say about all that. All I knew is that we were going to hit Canada, and our bow was headed straight for their strategist, Annie Hager. Tom said, I had a choice to make, and I just tried to keep people safe, so I just turned the boat as hard as I could into the mark. This is from their press release. That is Sail GP's press release. He added that he, quote, knew the mark was there. I'd seen it, unquote. Okay? The incident saw Australia handed a devastating 8-point deduction to its season score and 10 points docked from its event score. This means the Aussies have slipped into second place on the season leaderboard behind NZL, but Slingsby said he, quote, didn't care about the results, unquote, adding that he was still in shock. That's a quote as well, still in shock. There now is the leaderboard at the end of the Christchurch Regatta. Pete Burling enjoying a nearly 9-point lead, not quite 10-point lead, but there are plenty of regattas. There's 3 regattas, right? Bermuda, Halifax. Oh, there's 4 regattas, Jody's reminding us. Yes, Bermuda, Halifax. That's right, there's a Canadian regatta. We're in the North American leg now. Bermuda, Halifax, New York, and San Francisco. 4 events left. Thank you. And Jody is also reporting that Boat 11, he told me this earlier today, that Boat 11 is complete and ready for next season. It will be used to get the boats back on track. So either parts or that entire boat will be used. So that is presumably good news. Yes, Vice Commodore Harrington is saying, yes, New York is June 22nd and 23rd. So there's plenty to go here in terms of points. So let's back to the point, to the scoreboard. The leaderboard, as you call it, scoreboard as we would call it in the States. Australia in second on 59. Spain, Diego Botín hanging in there, having a good year on 55 points. Looking for that third place, for that podium to get into the final. And Quentin Delapierre doing okay, content, in French, I guess it is, Delapierre, In fourth, just a point shy of Spain. And Nikolai Sehested has slipped down to fifth, but he's also in the hunt on 50 points. Not sure the rest of them are in the hunt much, but we shall see.
Derek Canfield's come up.
Well, he
from the bottom.
came up a little bit. He wasn't. I don't think he was ever in last, was he? But he was down there a little lower. I think Canada's the one that has slipped here a bit. Okay, so Andrew Dali Davola, it would have been 1 point difference, but Australia got an 8-point penalty, which is hard to fathom when they were on the right side of a port starboard. Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that too, Andrew.
Why?
But
Do we know why that
I think, Julie, it's just that Russell feels so strongly that they've got to protect the boats, save the boats. SOB, STB, save our boat. SOB, we used to say. And it's a borrowed, not quite a borrowed boat series. These teams ostensibly own the boats now, but not quite, because Russell still has to provide them and maintain them.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a good point, Andrew. Replying to Stingray, do the work on the ship, it wouldn't be the first time. Yes, true. The boat's being shipped from New Zealand to Bermuda. Got to presumably go through the canal. Jody Shields, it has been an accident waiting to happen for a while. Those finish marks should not be on, should not be on the course until after the first leg has been completed. There has been plenty of near misses in previous events. Boy, it's good to have Jody on the show, to doing the commentary. And Jody made the comment up above that he hopes Russell will let them continue with the radio show. I do too. I'm going to drop Russell a note. Interesting, Rick Bannerow says that Team USA was virtually unmentioned on the second day of the broadcast. Their performance was suboptimal, again, meriting virtually no comment. But I heard they too had damage, which would have been noteworthy. Yeah, SOB, save our boats to save the dollars. Well, that's the other point, is that it does save some dollars. Australia was not in the right. The other two had boundary protection. Indeed, Steve Gruber. Steve is very sharp. He always comes through with a sharp comment.
He does.
Doesn't he? He does indeed. So there's the results. Let's now get to Russell's situation here, because after the Dolphins won out on Saturday and there was no racing, he did an interview that then was picked up by television. And, he had said ahead of time going into the event that Christchurch would be unlikely to host Sail GP again because of all the problems he was apparently having locally with what he called minority groups, which I'm sure he meant the animal activists, Greenpeace, and so on. After Saturday was canceled, the racing on Saturday did not happen, he took to the air, and that resulted in television coverage up and down New Zealand. And here was One News' coverage. We should have some audio.
Today, but
I'm going to go back.
I'm
going to go back so you can hear the audio.
The Sail GP finally got underway in Christchurch today, but after some racing was scratched by dolphins appearing on the course, event boss Sir Russell Coutts has slammed the protocols in place. He's unleashed on harbour and environmental authorities as a Stausch boil diver. Thomas Mead reports.
It was the moment they'd been waiting all weekend for. The luck of the sailors finally turning. F-50s on the water at last, thousands on shore revelling in their glory.
That was awesome, unbelievable. What a comeback from the lads and ladies.
A stark difference to yesterday when Dolphins forced organisers to cancel and refund thousands of tickets. The Sail GP chief executive inconsolable this morning.
Sail GP have had this extreme marine mammal mandatory protocol forced upon it.
Russell Coutts refusing to talk to most media, but using a radio interview to call out individuals by name.
Dolphins are extremely intelligent mammals and are inherently aware of boats around them. The Hector's dolphin is not an endangered species, as Otago University professor Liz Sluton recently claimed. That was a lie.
The IUCN is the international organisation that lists endangered species, and Hector's dolphin is definitely on that list.
She says the speed of the boat is the problem.
It would be a bit like saying that children are inherently aware of cars and trucks, and therefore there will never be an accident. The child will just naturally get out of the way. It doesn't work like that.
But if it was to be the last, the punters were making sure to enjoy it. The hill's busy for a second day.
The atmosphere is even better than it would have been because of yesterday.
Even if some still weren't sure they'd see a race.
No, it's pretty hard to get excited. Waste time even turning up, really, because it'll probably happen again.
We're looking for dolphin sushi, so.
Could yesterday end up being the nail in the coffin?
I certainly hope not. People could see it as being that, but I certainly hope not.
And as the New Zealand team took the lead, everyone painfully aware that the winds were turning.
I think they should sell some heart pills around here.
Today, a win for New Zealand, but perhaps for the last time here.
OK, Thomas, it's not just future races in Christchurch in jeopardy. What more can you tell us?
Well, in that same interview, Sir Russell Coates implied that the sailing might not only never be back to Christchurch, but that it may never come back to New Zealand at all, unleashing quite the tirade, really lambasting everyone from the harbour master by name to the Department of Conservation and the local hapu Ngāti Wheki. We reached out to each of those parties to give them a fair chance to respond. The harbour master told us that it's his role to make sure that everyone in the harbour is safe, not just the SailGP yachts. Whereas Doc told us that SailGP was fully aware that it was organising an event in what is a marine mammal sanctuary. The local hapu Ngāti Wheki saying that marine mammal plan actually helps SailGP to avoid breaking the law, because there is a law in New Zealand, the Marine Mammals Protection Act, which makes it an offence to harass, disturb, injure or kill marine mammals. And look, the fallout continues from this. We'll have more from my colleague Jordan Oppett in the sports break, including details on the race and issues with the course layout.
Kia ora, Thomas. Thanks very much, live in Littleton for us tonight.
There's been no shortage of drama at the Littleton SailGP event, a weekend won by the New Zealand team.
Mate, absolutely incredible day. I think for me, it's been the best day in SailGP history. You know, right at the top end of that configuration, awesome tight racing, right next to such a massive crowd cheering everyone on. It's just been unreal.
It means the New Zealand team usurps the Aussies at the top of the overall SailGP standings. So, some good news to come out of what's been a fairly fiery weekend across the board. Jordan Oppett is back with us live from Littleton. Jordan, an action-packed day on many fronts.
Well, that's one way to put it, Sav. As Peter Burling said there, the greatest race day in SailGP history. Well, that's been overshadowed by controversy. It all started on Friday when SailGP boss Sir Russell Coates sat down with me for an exclusive interview and told me that Christchurch was unlikely to ever host the event ever again due to ongoing complexities with local stakeholders. He doubled down on that today and said it definitely won't be back, and now the future of the event in New Zealand is in jeopardy. That's because yesterday racing was cancelled for the day due to a dolphin being spotted on the start line. Now, due to the Marine Mammal Management Plan, racing cannot happen if there's a mammal on course. Now, today he's been slammed by the sailors for the course layout following that crash with the Australians. The thing is with SailGP, the show must go on. Behind us, everything's being packed into shipping containers, ready for the next stop in a month's time in Bermuda. But there's plenty of baggage still to unpack, and we'll keep bringing you the latest from this fallout.
It's never a dull moment. Plenty of talking points. Jordan Oppett with us live from Littleton.
Okay, so you can see the coverage. I mean, it was pretty big coverage on One News in New Zealand. I want to go to the comments. Peter Blakely, thank you for your comments. And he's saying Coots's, and by the way, Julia, guess what? We're going to do a corrector crotonic at the end of this. I'm just setting it up. I have Greenpeace's comments, too, in a moment. You think Russell was fiery.
Yeah.
And Peter Blakely is saying, Coots's hypocrisy. Remember all the SailGP Guardians of the Ocean's PR videos. Also, blatant lies. Fact is, Hector's dolphin is critically endangered. As such, there are laws protecting them. Thank you, Peter, for that. And he's saying, Peter, I think the U.S. is a bad influence on New Zealand with our culture wars, because unfortunately now you got culture wars in Kiwi land. And some more comments from Clay Embley and Stingray and so on that we don't necessarily need to read. But let's now move on, Julia, to what Greenpeace, and thank you Ed Worley and a few others who sent this in just before we went to air. But how's this for a headline? Russell Coutts signs up to the war on nature with SailGP threat to Hector's dolphin. This by a gentleman called Russell Norman, who is the executive director of Greenpeace New Zealand today. And he said, I'm excerpting from a long blog post that he put up. Personally, I don't agree with having the race there at all. It is a marine sanctuary, for God's sake. But if it is going ahead, it is good that the protection plan was agreed upon. But then on Saturday, the Dolphins turned up. The agreed rules were activated and the racing was paused, which was what SailGP agreed because of their, quote, commitment to the environments in which we operate, unquote. But then Coutts lost his shiza and in a Trumpian outburst attacked all and sundry. The DOC, which I'm not sure what DOC stands for, the harbor master, the hapu, the scientists, the laws, et cetera, et cetera. His attack on rules to protect dolphins echoed his government's war on nature with its oil and gas exploration and fast-track laws for environmentally destructive projects. It was DOC, Department of Conservation, or so I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Somebody will know. He went on to say, so much for all the greenwash that SailGP cares about the environment. And as far as Coutts' gratuitous attack on the Maori and the Maori Council, thank goodness that they stood up for the dolphins because it is clear that SailGP couldn't care less. When it comes to not really giving a damn about dolphins, I used to think that no one would best George Clement, the then head of Seafood New Zealand, and when he blamed the dolphins for drowning themselves in fishing nets. But Russell Coutts sure has given it a crack. And yes, DOC, Peter Blakely says, is the Department of Conservation. Not
Conversation.
No, it's not conversation. That's a typo. Who is Hector? He should put his dolphins away during events. Right? Department of Croutons. No, you got to have a Department of Conservation, and I can't blame them for having a protocol and wanting. And yes, in fact, several of you have asked, didn't we have animal strikes here? And we did.
We did.
And we had rules and so on. In fact, that was during the 2013 Cup and leading up to that. But also here, during the SailGP finals last year, we had a whale on the course, which is pretty unusual. Whales have just only recently come back into San Francisco Bay looking for food, or it's warming up, or whatever it is. But they are back here in the bay, or so the animal experts say. Now, that was, I want to go back and get his title in there. That gentleman, there it is. Dr. Russell Norman, who is the executive director of Greenpeace New Zealand. Now, I promise you a corrector Croutonic. We've got to, oh man, I had to push the volume up, the level up on that one because their audio was a little soft. Corrector Croutonic. And in a nutshell, is Greenpeace right or is Russell right? Have they overdone it? And I'm particularly interested in what you Kiwis think, because the rest of us are a little, it's hard for us to know what's going on and what should go on in your country or be critical of what is going on. In a nutshell, Russell, is he correct or Croutonic? Let's just ask it apropos Russell. Is he correct or Croutonic? Russell. He's our friend. He's a sailor.
His view is very understandable.
Russell's view.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick Bannerow says this time Greenpeace is right. Okay. Graham Sweeney, these sanctuaries were very loosely upheld. We had a case in Ireland where a young woman wanted to fish off her island using line. She was banned and prosecuted, but the big Dutch trawlers were still allowed to fish. Okay, let's, Richard Gladwell, thank you for this. Russell Norman is a former Green Party leader and very political. Well, understandably. And thank you for that. Tier de Jong is asking an interesting question. I understood from comments that on Saturday they did not see a dolphin in the bay there. I don't know. Julie thinks that Coots's temper tantrum is a bit crotonic. Of course, Coots is not popular in New Zealand to begin with, she means after the Ilingi episode. The dolphins are protected, and when sailing in protected waters, it is not a good place to plan a race. Ted Ryman, on the other hand, thinks that Russell Coots is correct. And Graham Sweeney thinks it would have been better if he had said nothing. That's probably a good point. Clayton Emily said, yeah, probably a bit of both. Move on, move the event. Greg Phillips thinks Russell with 2 L's. There's 2 Russells here. The gentleman had 1 L, I think, in his name, the Greenpeace executive director. Ed Worley is saying never to let a crisis go to waste for fundraising or PR points, which he's saying the Greenpeace gentleman did not waste it. Yep. Ken Saban thinks that Greenpeace is right. This time I'll side with Greenpeace, Jeff Kitson is saying. Morris Stevens, Russell was crotonic in this case. The wildlife needs to win the day. Stingray, from what we heard, there was only 1 dolphin spotted on Saturday. They should have let them race. It would have been perfectly fine. And the president of Australian Sailing, Alistair Murray, who's back from his bike ride, is saying, I'm on Greenpeace's side, I think. Okay, so it's a mixed bag, Julia.
It is.
Most of you, I would say, most of you are on the side of Greenpeace in this case and the dolphin protocols and think Russell overreacted, I would say that. Is that how you judged it, gauged it?
From the answers, I think that's true.
Well, Baton Rouge is saying a 3-day event would solve this, but I'm not sure. They may have had the problem on, 2 other days as well.
I'd be more concerned if there were a pod or of dolphins going through.
Well,
you can see. I mean, that you wouldn't want to get into. But
is that what a group of them is called?
I don't think so.
Oh, we're going to get criticized here. Clark Chapin, according to our National Oceanic and Atmospheric Admin, NOAA, NOAA, Hector's dolphins are critically endangered, unquote, quote unquote, and limited to that area of New Zealand. Russell, understandably upset, loses on this one, or so says our super FOSI, Clark Chapin.
Okay.
Peter Blakely, I grew up in Kapiti, sailed and dived all my life, never saw a Maui's dolphin-related Hectors in its home waters, okay? Walking the line, Alistair Murray, Pedro Foiling Sailor, is saying, well, let's just park the boats and take photos of dolphins, forget the competition. Yeah, okay. They had to refund Saturday's tickets. Well, on television, they had to refund probably TV time, too, as well. So.
Yeah, I think Russell, in part of his comments, gave the dollar numbers.
Did he?
Yeah, and I remember they were big.
Well, no doubt. But again, he obviously knew going in this was going to be a problem because of all the. I doubt we're coming back. He was trying to. Now we understand why he was doing all of that talking ahead of time. He was trying to put pressure on the locals to say, well, we probably aren't coming back here if you keep this up.
Yeah.
And he must have known on Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even. And apparently, the other thing we haven't covered here is that apparently the year before, last year's remember, they were trying to move out of.
Right.
They did the event there last year in Christchurch. They were supposed to go to Auckland this year, but Russell couldn't do a deal with the locals in Auckland for a viewing, shoreside viewing, and so on.
Right.
And therefore, he went back to Christchurch, and Christchurch said, okay, come on back, but you got the same dolphin protocol in place. Apparently, last year, there was a race run with, in fact, the final was run with dolphins on the course. And that upset a few people.
Yeah.
Upset's a mild word.
Yeah.
Correct or crotonic? Well, I think most of you think Russell was crotonic in this case, whether for his position or whether for him articulating it so strongly at the end of the event. I think there's a little of both. And thank you for all of you for that. Gee, how would a floating dolphin carcass have played on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough. The dolphin striker, we all know Clayton is the brace on the front of the beam of a catamaran, and that's been around for a while. Okay, let's get off that unless there's any other pressing comments. as we're an hour and 24 minutes into this show, and time for this day in history. And not today. I couldn't find, you know what happened, I can't find anything interesting today, yachting related, or at least, somewhat historical, somehow nautically related. Then I looked for tomorrow, and I looked for yesterday. And I happened to look on yesterday first and found this one, what happened in 1609, so I went with it, Julia. Here is your clue. You have any idea who that gentleman is?
Ooh.
Maura Stevens should know this. Oh, Canada. We'll see if she knows. Back on that other topic, while you're figuring out who this is, Julie Aaron's saying it is strictly a follow the money situation. Funny that the baby shark is talking dolphins. Now, that's not Bering, named after the Bering Straits. That's a good guess, though, Gordon Smith. Julia, any idea? Anybody else have any idea before I give you?
What year was it again?
This is in 16 something. No, it's not Graham Sweeney. That's Graham's comment. That's the best comment of the day. Ding, ding. We got to give that applause, Julia.
Yeah.
That is the best comment of the day. When I was testing over the weekend, they said, why don't you ever use those sound pads? And, we got a laugh track, and we got a sad track. Gordon Smith, is it Pierre Trudeau? No, it's not. We do the rim
Henry
shot.
Hudson.
Okay, enough of all that. I'm just buying time here. Henry Hudson, ? Ted Ryman is saying. William Haynes got it. And William Haynes has got the, we should give him the applause again.
Yes.
But yes, that is Henry Hudson.
I had no idea.
Who was born they don't know when he was born. They know he was born between 1550 and 1560, so circa 1565. And they actually don't know when he died because there was a mutiny on his boat.
Yeah.
And they were up in Hudson Bay. They'd wintered in St. James. There must not any food. St. James is the southern part of Hudson Bay, for those of you who've been up there. And they'd wintered there, and he said, okay, we're going to crack on now, as you Kiwis and Aussies, Brits would say. We're going to press on and try to find the Northwest Passage. And his crew said, no effing way, and they mutinied.
Yeah.
Put Hudson and his son, who was on, he had like a 12 or 13, 14-year-old son, on board with him, and a couple of his loyal crew on a boat, and they never saw him again. So they're not sure when he died. But it was in 1611 that apparently they put him on his boat. So yes, Henry Hudson had two notable trips, and he's a Brit who was sailing for the Dutch because the Brits wouldn't fund him until later on. And the first one, he basically discovered the European who explored lower New York Harbor, and he went up the Hudson, what now is called the Hudson River, all the way to Albany, the capital of the state of New York, before returning. And he made some trading arrangements with the locals, with the indigenous population in the States, and with the...
fish.
Sorry?
At their fish.
Well, fish and furs. I mean, furs was the big deal, right? Yeah. And then he did that second trip that he took off, and he was set adrift after wintering in St. James, in St. James Bay in June of 1611. But he was the first one to, as the first European at least, to go through the Labrador Sea, and through Hudson Strait and into his now named after him Hudson Bay. Hudson made two attempts to find a prospective Northwest Passage to China, as Mr. Trump would say, via a route above the Arctic Circle, while in the employ of the Dutch East India Company.
Good for him.
Hence the Dutch. And that's why New York was settled by Dutch, by the way. While he didn't find the passage, Hudson did explore the region around modern New York and the river which now bears his name, thus laying the foundations for Dutch colonization of the region. It is presumed he died in 1611 after being set adrift by mutineers in Hudson Bay on his ship Discovery and never seen again. So it was on this day. Yesterday. It was on yesterday. It was the 25th of March.
Yeah.
in 1609 that Henry Hudson embarks on an attempt to find the Northwest Passage to Asia for the Dutch East India Company,
Mm-hmm.
and he explored North America instead, yesterday in history.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking about history, the sooner this guy is hit, bing, 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 I can hear Stingray. They've got an hour and a half into the show, let the record show, that Ehman finally said something about the non-sailing CEO. This guy needs to go. He needs to be history. The sooner the better, including anyone else on that board who voted for the lawsuit against America One Racing and Kayard and Bill Rue and co. Now, speaking of all this, because we like to tell all sides of the story, as we just did in that New Zealand piece, a week from today, John Bertrand, whose letter and project, he has a white paper that we featured, or we didn't feature it really, but we noted it here on the show the other day, Julia. John Bertrand will be our guest, our live guest, a week from today to talk about why U.S. sailing is correct, why these other guys should have been sued and should have been out of the picture, and why his white paper is the way forward.
Good.
This is American John Bertrand, who was the silver medalist in the Finn class in '84 in Long Beach and was our skipper, excuse me, or he was tactician rather. He was skipper briefly on America 2 when John Collies resigned and then before he was brought back. So I know John well. He will be our guest on the show a week from today. In the meantime, this guy still's got to go, regardless of what John has to say, in my never so humble opinion. Get him out of there.
Stingray says he looks like a non-sealer.
He is a non-sailor, Stingray.
Not sealer.
A non-sealer?
Yeah.
What's that? What's a non-sealer?
The animal.
Clark says we could have gone with on this date in 1845, so what, 6 years before the modern America, or before the AC0, a patent was awarded for adhesive medicated plaster, the precursor of the Band-Aid.
Good.
A non-sealer. I don't know. For my friends in Michigan, it's Clark. All I can say is that the non-sailing CEO, his previous gig was as president of the Detroit Pistons, which is a pretty sorry chapter in NBA history. They were earlier, back in the 90s, they were a pretty good franchise. These days, not so good. We are pleased to report now that we have Alistair here. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote, a little bit of history, and his beloved company, Ronstand, one of the best things that's happened to our sport over the last 50 years. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote from Betung.
Oh, good.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. This is Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote for the week, AAAA. And we've got a different flavour today. This is all about celebrating many hard years of work at Ronstand and getting together with the guys that I've partnered with to make it such a success for us. So we're up on the Gold Coast, and just to show you that we don't only race sailboats. We're at Bryn's house. He was our marketing manager for 30 years, and we're at his house, and that's his catamaran in the background with Pete and Bryn hard at work on it. And if you look over my shoulder, you'll see the girls, our three girls down there in the pool. Wave to the camera, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Tom, say hi, Tom and Julia. Yeah. That's Tracy in the pink. Kerry and Sally. All right, so we'll take you for a bit of a walk, and this is the fun part. We had a terrific dinner last night to celebrate many years of working together, and we're just celebrating here on the Gold Coast. Beautiful weather, as you could probably see. It's about 25 degrees. Walking past the pool, another little wave from the girls. Yes, there they are. I should be here, Tom. Did you hear that? Yeah. So we're just going for a walk down to the boat. It's a beautiful place. And yes, Ronstand colleagues for so long that it's hard to believe that we were on a journey together for a while. This is actually Mark. G'day, Mark.
G'day.
I've known Mark for about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to, this is a canal property down on the Gold Coast. I'll just do a little bit of a scan around, as you can see. very typical of quite a bit of the living here in Australia with the climate we have, with people with their own private jetties and with boats at the jetty. So Bryn's got a 46-foot lagoon, Bryn and Kerry, and they've been cruising through the Pacific and testing all of our products. So I'm just going to move up to the side of the boat. Very quick hello. This is Pete. Hi, say hello to Tom and Julia.
Hey Tom,
Yeah.
hey Julia, how are you, mate?
Have you met Tom Ehman?
Yeah.
That's Pete Downey. Pete.
Tom and I.
Pete was our sales manager for how many years, Pete?
3.5.
3.5.
3.5 years.
He's still there.
I'm a
30,
lot thinner.
30 years. He's one of the new guys, and I've worked with him for 30 years. It just seemed like a hell of a lot longer. And then Bryn, come and say hello, Bryn. And this is Bryn Wellington. Say hi, Tom.
Howdy, Tom.
Yeah, Bryn was our marketing manager for how many years, Bryn?
I was 32.
32 years. So between us, with me 48, Bryn 32, Pete 30, we've got over 100 years. And boy, are we tired. Anyway, we had a great time together in the sailing industry. I think one of the very special things about the sailing industry is the friendships you forge, and Ron Stan, Bryn and Pete and myself there for a combined total of 100 and something years is actually pretty typical. And I'm up there on the honour board at Ron Stan with 48 years. I've now finished, as you know, and I've got two guys ahead of me on the honour board, so I didn't make it the longest. And I'm kind of a little bit sad that I didn't make the 50-year symbolic milestone. Anyway, life in the sailing industry has been great for the three of us and all of our other partners at Ron Stan. So many great friends in the sailing industry. It's been an absolute joy. I can't imagine that I could have made a living doing anything else that I could have enjoyed half as much. And as I said, the real pleasure has been in the relationships forged along the way. So I'm going to join the boys and the girls now, perhaps in the pool, for a margarita time, Bryn. Yeah, it's margarita o'clock, and it could be another big night. You can probably hear from my scratchy voice that we've had a couple of big nights already. All right, Tom, Julia and FOSI, a pleasure bringing you A as always, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next week. Bye.
So I was wrong. They're not in Metung. They're not out at his holiday house, which is where I thought it was when I scrabbled through the video. But he's up on the Gold Coast. It looks like Southern California, doesn't it?
It does.
Looks like Newport Beach. It looks like San Diego even, or Long Beach, and just or up near you, and up, in Santa Barbara, in that area. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a bit of a promo for Ron Stan, but you know what? It's all about
He's
people.
wonderful.
And how nice our beloved sport. I've only said that twice so far. I promise not to say it more than 3 times in one show. How nice the people are in our sport, how they are friends first, and then whether they work together, sail together, help run a yacht club together, or do all of that. So up on the Gold Coast somewhere, and Alistair, thank you very much indeed for that. It's always a treat to have the AAAA, Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote.
Absolutely.
With the Royal Naval Band playing one of our favorite tunes. Sometime I'll for Claire Harrington, she said, you got to get the banjo out and play it on the show. I said, well, I don't think we play Waltzing Matilda on a banjo. That doesn't sound correct, really. That does not sound correct. Speaking of Claire Harrington, her New York Yacht Club made some news over the weekend by flying their boat from Providence, their new boat, their AC-75 from Providence to Barcelona. And of course, we have the images, we have the video, thanks to several of our FOSI, notably Stingray. But on Sunday at PBD, which is TF Green International Airport in Providence, Rhode Island, an Antonov, not the big Enchil, not the huge Antonov 225, but that was destroyed in the war. This is an Antonov 124, of which several of them still exist. They got them out of Ukraine before the war, or they were doing business. They were already out of Ukraine before the war started. And here it is at one of them, at TF Green on Sunday, and people thought, they were so surprised. I posted this picture on my Facebook page as my cover photo, and I was accused of posting one from the last Cup, and I wouldn't do that.
You could.
Well, I could, but I wouldn't. And here is another, none of you has this. Corey Welch on TikTok sent this, the plane taking off from PVD. If you ever needed to see one of these huge planes, we had them flying America's Cup boats around back in '92. Not the first time somebody flew a boat, maybe before that. But the Antonovs were used, I know for sure, in the San Diego Cup. And that, courtesy of Corey Welsh from TikTok. Then this was the flight pass. Stingray sent this to me. And he has one of these sites that, like you do, Julia, you following the ships around, the AIS and so on. What's that called? Marine, that you follow the ships? Marine traffic something?
Yeah.
Well, Stingray has great resources and great Googling skills, and he followed the plane from, because we weren't sure, but there it was. There was the flight path. Did not stop up in Canada. Flew nonstop to Barcelona on Sunday the 24th. Tracked the flight. Now his plane number, the tail number was UR for Ukraine, 82008, Providence to Barcelona. And for the avoidance of doubt, there is the biggie. There is the Antonov 225. This is a photo from 1989 at the Paris Air Show.
Oh, yeah.
When it flew in and out with the Soviet version. Were they the Soviets then, or were they the Russians? But anyway, that's the Barada. Is that what it was called? The Barada, their orbiter, like our, what was ours called?
I don't remember.
Before it blew up, and but let me go back. So that was the big plane, and that plane had 6 Ukrainian-made engines, fully 6 high-powered engines. Look at all the tires on that baby.
Oh, yeah.
This is what it looked like, and it would cover a football field. It was 300-plus feet, 300 meters long, give or take, and it had twin 6-story tail fins.
Ooh.
And it met its demise in the early days of the war on the 2nd of April, 2022, so 2 years ago.
Oh,
it was called Mariah. They anglicized the name. They called it Mariah and spelled it, I guess, differently. Destroyed in the Russia-Ukraine war in April of 2022. But wait, there's more, because we have the video that the team released just before we went to air today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I told you it was brief.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it was not 300 meters long. It was 100 meters long, 300 feet football field length.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Steve Gruber. It was not 300 meters long. My graphics department screwed that up.
Oh,
right, Julia?
Oh, yes.
Knock on the doors there, Julia. The graphics department's back there in the control room behind you.
Hey, you guys.
If anybody believes that, we have a bridge to sell you. We have an Easter bunny coming up this weekend that we'll send to your house. Not true. I wish we had a graphics department. This is just to get close here to wrapping things up. We're an hour and 43 minutes in, but we've had this regatta here, and last weekend here at St. Francis, and I ran an interview that was very popular. Remember the 15-year-old girl from Balboa Yacht Club who sailed? Julia and I thought, there's a guy you know well, I know well, who was arguably maybe not the oldest guy in this regatta, but he was right up there, and he's a huge contributor to our sport, particularly here in the Bay Area and at St. Francis Yacht Club. He is a cool person and is the subject of today's FOSI Focus. This was this regatta called the California Dreamin', this 4-stage match race series, which 3 of the stages are down in SoCal and 1 of them up here in the Bay Area. It was won last weekend before last by the Detroit crew. We told you about this team, Ryan Siago from Bayview Yacht Club in Detroit, and his team. The guy on the right is actually in the Bay Area, was a fill-in crew. for the last minute. He's a guy here from St. Francis. We interviewed these ladies, and I played that interview. It was hugely popular. Thank you, all of you, for the wonderful comments that you sent in about her in that interview. We're going to follow her.
Yeah.
Sienna Nichols, and her sister there is in that. In fact, I've got, as usual, because we like to have crew names, left to right. Maddie Nichols on the top there, top left, is the skipper's sister, Eddie, older sister, obviously, Eddie Klein, who is a crew, obviously, and Lily Brennan there on the right. So 3 gals and the young man who finished well. They didn't win it by any means, but many of you enjoyed that interview. We'll try to follow them. We're going to follow their career a bit because they just give you faith not only in the future of our sport, but in the future of the world. Kids like that. Right, Julia?
Right.
You agree?
No, they were wonderful.
She
was, especially.
She was especially.
Yeah.
But I had a chance to talk to all of them. So I wanted to carry on because Gerard Sheridan, he was, let me get the standings up close. In the overall standings, 3 of the 4 regattas now having been sailed. You can see she stands tied for 3rd, Sienna Nichols. And then I'm not sure they're the oldest farts in the regatta, but Justin Oberbauer, who represents St. Francis, Ryer Easterlin, Harry O'Reilly, and Gerard Sheridan. And we're going to interview Gerard here, or run that interview. They also give you confidence because these guys not only do so much, and particularly Gerard, for our club, for our sport, photography, race officer, judge, but he's still racing. And this is why you got to have people like Clark Chapin, who at age 70, whatever he is still an active senior serious racer, like Alistair Murray, who's still an active senior serious racer, contributing to our sport and still racing. And it makes our sport wonderful.
And wouldn't do without it.
And our sport would not be what it is.
But they wouldn't do without it either.
No, they wouldn't do it. Here's Gerard Sheridan, the interview I did with him the weekend before last. I'm here with one of the competitors. We interviewed earlier the youngest competitor here, the 15-year-old from Balboa Yacht Club, Gerard Sheridan, a good friend, longtime friend here at St. Francis Yacht Club. I won't call you the oldest competitor.
I'm not. Yeah.
But you are the most auspicious. You're a race officer. You do some judging. You do a lot of work around this club, and you're a hell of a good sailor, including photography.
Oh, thank you, John. That's a high compliment coming from yourself.
Well, it's sincere, and appreciate you taking a little time with us because it is today, St. Patrick's Day.
It is, yeah.
And with a name like Gerard Sheridan, I can't imagine you're anything but 100% Irish.
100% Irish, yeah. Born and raised, and also a proud American citizen since 2015. So I'm a dual Irish and American citizen, so happy to be here.
Happy to have you on our little interview. We'll probably use this, probably airing on Tuesday's show. It's a couple days after St. Patrick's Day. How was the racing?
Racing was great. Great pressure, wind pressure for the last 2 days. The current was certainly a factor. It was flooding quite hard.
Flooding both days, right?
Both days, yes, both days.
So flat water?
Flat water and, beautiful sunshine and pressure. So all good. You cannot complain about these conditions.
So how was the starting with all that tide? You had a strong, 2-3 plus knot tide?
Yeah, 2 plus, definitely, yeah. And it was tricky, certainly in the dial-ups. The flood was pushing you back down the line and you had to be careful not to touch the mark or anything like that. So it was certainly tricky and tested all the skippers and crew quite well today. Particularly, I think the visiting crew figured it out better today than they did the first day. So we saw a big improvement in the visiting skipper's performance today versus yesterday.
Well, Ryan Siaga, who won, he's from Detroit. He went to the University of Michigan. And we had the Detroit crew over last night to my place, along with Matt Whitfield and his brother Alex, because they're staying with us. And actually one of his crew just now said that having the flood tide and sailing against the flood tide is what they do often on Lake St. Clair.
Right.
And he said that was the key to their starting success.
Yeah. No, definitely. So the cream definitely rose to the top today, and so hats off to the winning team. They did an outstanding job, and you know, it's great to host this event here at the club, and Bruce Stone does a lot for match racing in general on the West Coast. So hats off to him for making this happen here, and all the volunteers and the PROs and so forth.
Do you sail in any more of these? This is the third of the 4 regatta series called the California Dreamin'.
Yes.
You go to Long Beach for the 4th regatta?
Yes, we go. Justin's Oberbauer is my skipper, and we did San Diego, we did Balboa, and we're really looking forward to Long Beach. Long Beach is one of my favorite events on the calendar. We love the 37s, and we love the hospitality at Long Beach Yacht Club. They really put on a great show. So
yeah, they do. They have the experience of doing Con Cup and Ficker Cup, and they're a wonderful, wonderful club. They invented umpiring down there in 1988. That was the first match racing regatta to be umpired. But congratulations to your club. I'm happily a member as well, but you are very involved here. Gerard Sheridan, thank you for sitting with us, and congrats to St. Francis on a terrific event.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for all you do as well for promoting our sport online and through social media. So really enjoy your show.
Our pleasure. Thanks. Okay, thanks. He's a FOSI. He watches the show quietly. I'll go over to the club and maybe see him in the bar or wherever. We're not big buddies by any means, but the guy does so much for our sport. I'm really happy to have that on tape.
Yes.
Have an interview with Gerard Sheridan.
Yes.
What do you think, Julia? We are lucky. I won't use the word beloved yet again. Maybe I will before the end of the show.
Yes.
But again, the contrast, you got match racing, first of all, which we love, I love, you love.
Yes.
And you've got people as young as Sienna Nichols at age 15. You got older guys like he's my age, who's still active senior serious racing and all the things that he does. And I'm sure Sienna in her life and her sister and the other kids will be doing, if they're not already doing, for Balboa Yacht Club and beyond.
Right.
Great stuff. Right?
Absolutely.
Great stuff. This picture still freaks me out. Lucky nobody was hurt. That brings us to the last leg, Julia.
Yes.
And this famous painting, I love it. Now, this also requires a little setup. We have this thing that has just taken place in Helsinki, in Finland. And I'm starting, John Lamberts, Van Buren, and others are sending in the presentations by Hamish Ross, by Dawn Riley. And by the way, Dawn apparently, according to Peter Taylor, maybe you know this, but Dawn Riley flew from, presumably JFK, over to Helsinki, maybe had to transit through an airport.
Yeah.
They picked her up at the airport. They took her straight out to the fjord where they had 3 DN ice boats waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And Dawn went ice boating. And they took her all over, and put a suit on her, no doubt.
Yeah.
And put her out, a snowmobile suit, as we would call it in Michigan. Took her all the way out on the ice and showed her the fjord for, 2+ hours, apparently.
Wow.
And then she came back. She got gussied up and did her presentation, if not that night, the next day. But Hamish also was there. And this was the Classic Yachting Forum. And apparently it was a cool deal. And what I have is the video that Hamish played about the Classic Yacht. It's a 2-minute video. And I thought it was a nice way to wrap up our show today with Classic Yachts from New Zealand, the presentation that, at least part of Hamish's much longer presentation in Helsinki this past weekend.
Oh, good.
So enjoy it.
That's good already.
Nice music, eh?
Yeah.
So that is Hummingbird Video Photography. It's a guy called Roger Mills, whom I've been in touch with now for the last, I don't know, before the last Cup, because he has a YouTube channel. I commend it to you.
Mhm.
Roger Mills or Hummingbird, I can't, maybe whatever, Google it. But
Here it is. Hummingbird.
That's not his YouTube channel. Well, that's his
Video
website.
photo.
Yeah, hummingbird.videophoto.com. Is that what it is?
Yep.
You can read it better. But it's Vice Commodore Harrington, fabulous, so refreshing. Nice music.
Yes.
Nice stuff. Nobody yammering at you like I do, like the commentators at SailGP.
Yeah. No. It's
And probably, there you can see it, hummingbirdvideo.com. But he has a YouTube channel, and he posts stuff from time to time. And when I saw his post of this video a day or so ago, I wrote to him and asked him and it was 720p, I asked him if he could send me, please, the 1080p version, the full broadcast HD version, which he did within minutes.
Great.
He used, what is the same thing that John Emmett sends me his video called, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
For transferring large files. And WeTransfer, I guess it's called, WeTransfer. And thank you very much, Roger. Terrific stuff. And yes, we got some comments here about, and Peter Blakely, who's obviously, WeTransfer, Peter Taylor. Roger does some great coverage of sailing in the Gulf. Yes, he does. But really across the North Island.
Peter Taylor has WeTransfer.
Yeah, it is WeTransfer. Porn for Shipwrights, great video. Point is, the beautiful yachts need no commentary, is what Ed Worley said. And John Lamberts Van Buren has promised to send more stuff. I'm co-chair of the event and have been in the organization for many years. Give me a call to discuss if you wish. Well, what I'd like, if you would agree, John, is if you would be kind enough, Julia, how about if we keep saying we're going to get John on here?
Yes.
And maybe we do a panel discussion with at least John and Hamish, and whether Dawn or not has the time to come on as well. But we'll get Hamish back to New Zealand, get Hamish on by Zoom, or Skype, we'll get John Lamberts Van Buren on as well, and show some of these videos, some of the presentation. Hamish had a big deck. He had a big presentation on the history of the America's Cup and the classic yachts and so on. And I've heard various stories from a few of you, including John, obviously, about Dawn and the ice boating. Great stuff. Thank you all. Let's schedule that, and we'll do that. That brings us, thankfully, to the D block.
Yes.
And here it is, Julia. Me spiking the punch backstage at the drag queen show. That, of course, from Ted Ryman. Do you want to give him a wag? Huh?
Well, just,
So Stingray said I should use that. Here's the next one, a little cleaner, Julia. When you want a bow thruster, but you're on a budget.
Oh, gosh.
Well, Martha Peterson here, our friend in the Bay Area, she sends us some funnies from time to time. And now we get into the accordion. I don't know why people want to make fun of me all the time, the accordion and the bagpipe and the banjo, but Ed Worley sent this one, and he says he's invented a bagpipe/accordion hybrid, and he was threatening to play it.
On his banjo.
He was threatening to play it. He was, not on his banjo. It was just a hybrid.
I know.
But I digress. Wait, there's more. That came from Ed Worley. And then this one. I got tired of all the bagpipe jokes. The guy switches to a banjo. That from the esteemed New York Yacht Club Vice Commodore and FOSI by now, Claire Harrington.
That's a good one.
Another one we're going to get on the show.
Yeah.
And by the way, Claire also sent this one. This is a banjo mute. For only $19.95.
That's really good.
Copyright 2003, so it looks like older typeface. But thank you, Claire, for that as well. Thank you, Ed Worley. Great name for a band, Ted Ryman and the Wagging Drag Queens. John says that Hamish is on his way home now. Let's connect. We'd really enjoy having you on, John, to do that. Thank you.
Yep.
Clayton Embley, just one other comment above that. He's saying there's a classic yacht regatta at the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum the first weekend in October every year. There's one also down at Balboa Yacht Club. It's the Newport Beach Wooden Boat Festival, I think they call it. That's hosted in a month or two down at Newport Beach, in Newport Beach at Balboa Yacht Club. One day only, I think. They may have a preview on Friday, and then it's Saturday open to the public. It's one day that the club is open to the public. Nice service that my other club does, Balboa Yacht Club.
Yes, well, that's good.
Julia, that gets us, thankfully, to the finish line. We're 2 hours and 1 minute in, 1 minute after 3 here in San Francisco.
Well, sort of on schedule.
And your witness.
Yes, as you can see, there's lots of good stuff to share. So now's the time to like, follow, and share. Just push the button.
Indeed. And comments, as those of you who are watching in replay may not know, comments are welcome even in replay. Please go ahead and leave them. And we remind any of you who, especially new people, by the way, I'm back to, I streamed it today only on my Facebook page, as well as Sailing Illustrated's Facebook page and the YouTube channel. The Sailing Illustrated YouTube channel. Why did I do my page? Because when I was testing over the weekend to my page, several people
said, "Where have you been?"
So where have you been?
Yeah.
Because they didn't realize we're not doing it on my page. I probably created a bad influence. But if you're watching this on my page, and I'll go put some links up and so on, because we're not normally going to restream it also on my page, just on Sailing Illustrated's Facebook and YouTube channels. A reminder that we survive on your generosity. Thanks for your support, the patrons, via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And those that gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, over to you. Final comment.
I continue to be elated by the kinds of stuff I see going on in sailing.
Not so much outside of sailing?
Not so much outside.
Julia wrings her hand like you say, turn off Fox News, Julia. It's not quite that bad. Yeah, there's some bad stuff going on, but it's not quite that bad. Certainly not, and I'll use the word now, in our beloved sport. We are so lucky to have Julia, to have all of you, and to have, frankly, guys like John Emmett, like Alistair Murray, Ed Worley, all the others who contribute segments for our show. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channels, not on my page, but the other two. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.